test. Okay, we're going to spend a little bit of time here modifying the curtain wall portion of the building that we drew here between columns C and D. I'm in the section view right now. I'm going to open up my 3D curtain wall view as well and close the cover sheet and then tile my views, WT, Windows tile, there we go. And I really want them to be vertical. So let's see if I can put this on pause for just a second. So a very quick little web research, you can actually click and drag this heading, and if I put it here, I get them the way I like, and this eats up my screen in a little bit better way. I'm going to go ahead and pan this view up so I can see what's going on and give it a little rotation just to see so I can see what's going on, and this one I'm going to bring up like this. Remember, anything I do in one view, obviously it's a 3D model, so it's going to affect both, but this just makes it a little easier to see. We're going to be working with this panel here. And the first thing we want to do is we want to put in some vertical lines into this panel system. So I'm going to go ahead and select this panel. I've got that curtain wall selected. And what I want to do is here on the architecture tab, I want to go to curtain grid, and I want to hover over the top edge of this panel. I'm going to drop one. And then I'm going to come over here, I'm going to drop another one. And you can see what's happening here is it's dividing this up. Every time I drop in one of these pieces here, this is called a curtain wall grid. Every time I drop a grid in, what it's doing is it's taking this and it's made 3 panels out of this. It was 1 panel, and you can still select the whole system as one piece. If I tab, though, I can get individual panels on here. And so that's what we're trying to do, and we're creating different panels out of this system. And the quickest way to think about this is like an aluminum storefront system. This is kind of the common thing that goes inside every strip mall. They put the aluminum storefront system across the front of the building. And that's kind of what we're drawing. But this could be used for almost anything, just like the railings can be used in so many interesting ways. These panel systems can be used in tons of different ways. The image on the cover of the book with that spider web that's sort of undulating across the building, that's a panel system. It's a curtain system. So that's what Revit thinks of as a curtain wall system, as anything that's panelized. All right, so now we got to position these grids. I'm going to come down here and select this grid, and I need to move the little blue dot over to this wall here, and I'm going to type in 1 for 1 foot on this side, and then I'm going to select this grid, move this little blue dot over to the column, and type 1 foot in here. Okay, and that gives me a 24-foot wide bay, and I'm going to divide this up a little bit more. The column grids are a little bit irritating, and so is this section mark. So I'm actually going to hide that in view, and just temporarily hide that element. And then also these column grid lines, I'm going to hide in view those elements. Then I can zoom in. Oops, I want to hide all of them. Undo that, and then I'm going to right click and say hide elements, and I'm going to say whole category of elements are going to be hidden. Okay, and then I'm going to zoom in on that portion of the wall a little bit. I'm going to do the same thing here in this view, zoom in on that a little bit. And you can see there's that grid line, and it shows up in both views now, here and here. Same grid line. Okay, so now I'm going to put in some more grid lines. So I'm going to grab this one, and I'm going to say create similar if it'll let me. I actually don't have that button. So what I'm going to do, oh there it is, create similar, and I'm going to go ahead and put another grid line in at 6 feet, and then I'm going to put another one that's 6 feet away from this side. And then I've got 12 feet left over, so I'm going to leave a 3-foot space, and then I'm going to do a 6 and 3 over here, like so that I get all those different grid lines. Finally, I'm going to do one more. I'm going to say curtain grid, and I'm going to mouse over the vertical edge until I get one. I can't really see where it's going, so I'm just going to drop it down randomly. Whoa, I'll get a whole bunch of them. Really didn't want to have all that. So let's see, I want to do this. Let's grab that. Let's say create similar, and then this time I'm going to mouse over this edge. Getting a lot of noise here. I'm just going to drop one. Not sure why I'm getting so many. I don't really want the whole system. apparently I'm drawing an entire system. I don't want to draw a whole system, I just want to get the one grid line. So I'm going to say curtain grid and try it one more time. There, okay. Sometimes it takes a few clicks. I think the system was getting a little bit confused when I said create similar. I was trying to create an entire system. So I'm going to grab that one grid. This one's going to be 4 feet from the top, and that leaves me an 8 foot, 4 foot. Okay. So now what I've done here is I've divided this up into panels. I've got all these different panels. And the next step is to grab one of these panels and put a door in. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do that in the 3D view up at the top. I'm going to hit tab, 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 tab. I have to keep hitting tab until I see the panel pre-select, and then I can select that one panel. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and put doors in here. So this, we are now currently up to about the bottom of page 438. And the way this works, the door is actually not a door. It's going to be scheduled like a door. It'll show up like a scheduled door. You'll be able to put a door tag on it, but it's actually a panel, and the entire panel will be filled up with door. And so in order to do this, I need to go and get that door. We can see that it says the system panel is glazed, but we're going to drop this down, and we're going to say edit type, and instead of the glazed panel system, we want to get here the door. So I need to click load, and the panel is inside the doors folder, and it's right here, doors, curtain wall, storefront. And we can get one that's solid glass or storefront. Let's go ahead and use the double storefront system. I'm going to go ahead and open that. It's now part of my model, and I can go ahead and use that one. I say OK, and you'll see that it turns into doors now. That panel system does. I'm going to go ahead and do the other two sides of this. So I'm going to hover over the edge, tab, tab, click, and then come over here, tab, tab, and then I'm going to hold down the control button and click again. I get both of those. I don't have to load them again, they're already loaded. I just need to come here and say, instead of a glazed panel, I'm going to use that double curtain wall, that doors curtain wall, double storefront, and you can see all of them do that. Okay, now you'll notice how these things insert. Those frames for the doors fit inside the grids. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a, right now these are just a panel of glass and a panel of glass, and there's nothing in between them. They're just an empty slot. If I turn on thin lines for a moment, I can see there's just a gap there. There's nothing. There's one panel, there's the other panel, and there's nothing in the middle. So what I need to do now is I need to put on some mullions on this. Okay, so I'm going to come back out and I'm going to select this line, and I'm going to add a mullion to that line. Okay, so I'm going to go to architecture, and I'm going to say mullion, and I'm going to click that line, and it will draw the mullion on that line. It's centered on that line currently. And look what happened here. Let me undo and redo, and look at this little spot right here. If I undo, the doors change size to accommodate that mullion. Okay, and that mullion has properties. We can see here that if we select it, we got to get that one piece right there. We can see it's a 2.5 by 5 inch rectangular mullion. We can obviously change those, and we can modify this a lot. We're going to just stick with the one that's straight out of the box. Okay, so one way is to actually just pick individual lines to select mullions. The other thing we can do, we can pick this whole system, and we can come up here to architecture and say mullion, and we can select the whole system. We can say add at all grid lines, and I'll pick that entire system, and it draws all my mullions at once. Super fast, super handy. You will see that the mullions are given priority in terms of which way they intersect. I actually like this intersection. I like the verticals running. I'm going to leave it that way. But if I wanted to change that, I can pick this, and you can see that you can change the way it intersects by clicking this button. Okay. If I wanted to change all of them, then what I could do is I could pick that mullion, right-click on it, select all instances, or I could select mullion on grid line or across, on horizontal grid, or however I want to do this, across the grid line, and I'm going to get all of them. You see, they're all lit up, and I could change all of those at once. I could say joint conditions, and I could say make continuous, and they would all be made continuous. Or I could say break at joint, and they would all be broken, or they would all be continuous. So it's a great little tool, saves tons of time. Can't tell you how many years of my life were spent editing mullions. Don't have to do that anymore. Okay, so super fast to draw something like this, and that gets us our first little step.